standing your truth. Every voice matters, yeah, we see you. Love who you are, let the world know. This is your moment, let your light glow. More than a story, more than a name. We break the silence, rewrite the frame. Autism, neurodivergence, every mind shines bright. Mental health, self-love, stepping into the light. For the parents, the dreamers, the ones who push through, Auesomely You, we celebrate you. Oh, 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 oh. Auesomely You, we rise, we shine. Vowing voices, breaking the lines. This ain't just a podcast, this is a move. Celebrating every story, making room. For the ones who speak in ways they don't understand. For the hearts that love big, for the ones who take a stand. For the ones who see the world in a different way. We amplify your voice, let the world hear what you say. Every challenge, every win, every step you take. You are seen, you are loved, this is your space. No more silence, no more fear. Auesomely You, we're standing here. We are the voices, we are the change.
Hey, you guys, welcome back to your favorite podcast, Auesomely You Podcast. Today, I have an amazing guest for you guys. As I say in every episode, I want you guys to sit in her shoes for the next 30 minutes and embrace her story. Today, guest, we have CJ. CJ is a singing speaker, and she is neuro-spicy, disabled keynote speaker who teach people how to become joyfully resilient through the use of stories, songs, and skill building. She has been featured on CBC, CTV, and Rogers TV networks, and she has won multiple awards. And she's currently a finalist for the Women Changing the World Awards, this leadership, and for a YWCA Women Award as well. I'm so proud of her. I just met her. Let me introduce Miss CJ.
Hi.
Hey.
This is exciting.
Thank you for being our guest today.
That song that you just had on, I'm like sitting there, I'm just like bopping away going, that is awesome. Well done.
I'm so excited that you love that song. When I came up with it, I said, I need something that's going to match the community. And every guest, including myself, we all love it. And all my guests have had a disability, except for one who's a mom. But everybody has loved it. The intro, I'm pretty much saying, it's very neurodiverse affirming. The intro, the video, how I created it. So thank you for loving that. Like, you don't understand how much that means to me. Let's get into your story. I want you to introduce yourself for my audience who don't know who you are. And I love the neuro-spicy. I need you to make a shirt and send me one.
Well, my name is CJ Jansen. I am also known as the singing speaker, and my hair is driving me nuts because it's disappearing into the background, but that's the way it goes. I went from being a scuba instructor, traveling the world, diving 2 to 4 times a day, to overnight waking up on my birthday, feeling like death warmed over. And I lost everything, my hopes, my dreams, my plans for the future. I went from diving 2 to 4 times a day to being barely able to speak 2 to 4 words at a time. I am 80 to 90% bedbound still to this day, but I don't let that stop me. I am also ADHD and dyslexic, so there's a lot of shiny squirrel. So, I'm trying to co-author a book with Sir Marco Robinson. The book's called Start Over, and it's part of a 10-book series. I believe I'm in book 9, and it's purple, so that makes me happy. I'm easily amused. I am doing a lot of things within my disability community. I am a member of the City of Cambridge Accessibility Advisory Council. So I help make decisions within the city to make things better for people who are in wheelchairs, like I am. You can't see it now, but I'm sitting in a wheelchair. I also created and produced a show in December called DIS, in small brackets, Disability Unleashed. It was a 2-hour variety show held at a premium event space. And we didn't break even, but I was able to change the disability landscape in the region of Waterloo. So I've been doing a lot of different things, mostly from my bed, but I'm also doing things out in the community. I'm part of 2 choirs. I write music. I perform. I'm performing at the 2025 Paris Sports competition this year. I'm going to be singing 2 songs and doing a keynote speech for them. So yeah, there's a lot going on in life right now, and it's been a long journey. It's been a hard journey. I live well below the poverty line, so things are never easy. I use the food bank pretty much every week, but that's okay. I may be disabled, but my illness does not define me.
I love that. And yes, your illness do not define you, but you said so many key points that I want to touch on. So you used to be a scuba dive instructor. So waking up and on your birthday and feeling how you felt, look, what can you tell your younger self then? Like how they feel to now. Like right now you're thriving, you are embracing who you are, and you have reclaimed your life.
Mm-hmm. When I first got sick, I fought and I fought down in Mexico to try to stay there, to try to regain my health. I pushed myself, which was exactly the wrong thing to do. I made it back to Canada, and I was not only fighting one life-threatening illness, but 2. I was fighting alcoholism, and I was fighting my illness. It's a neuroimmune illness called myalgic encephalomyelitis, ME for short, because after all, it's all about me. But just keep them. You can use ME. It's way easier to say. But I felt useless. I felt like a burden on society. I felt like I had no value. And I had to change my mindset. 5 days after getting off that airplane, I made it through the doors of AA, and I have been sober since. So over 12 years now. I learned a saying in AA, which is to develop an attitude of gratitude. And that's one of the pillars of my speeches that I give. I teach people how to become joyfully resilient. And the first pillar is gratitude attitude. Learning how to learn to live in a state of constant gratitude. And that is a muscle that has to be developed. So think about all the things that we take for granted. Going to a light switch, boom, there's light. Going to your faucet and turning the water on. We take those things for granted. I have a reclining adjustable bed. When I didn't have one, I was in a lot more pain. That was a massive blessing that was given to me by somebody. There's just so much that we can be thankful for. Yesterday, my dad might have passed away. And That was very tough, a bad day. And yet, by learning to be living in that state of constant gratitude, I still found reasons to smile. I still found the ability to appreciate the smallest of joys. And that is one of the things that I had to learn while I was in that bed. So if I was to talk to myself in the past, it was start learning gratitude as soon as you can.
I love that because sometimes in moments we don't give ourselves grace. I remember when I couldn't walk last year. Was it last year? I think it was last year or the year for last. I can't remember, but I know it's in within. It was 2 years ago. I remember it was 2 years ago. And it was very difficult for me. I woke up one day and I could not. I understand what you're talking about because I couldn't move.
Mm.
And I remember my best friend had to carry me down the stairs because I couldn't move my legs. And that for me was scary. And when I say I had to crawl to the bathroom, use the bathroom. It was hard. I had to not I couldn't go to work for 2 months. Um, it was very difficult to use a walker. Um, seeing people and seeing how people treat people who are disabled was interesting. That
Mm-hmm.
was very interesting for me. I realized a lot of businesses did not have accessibility for people who have disabilities because they had stairs and I couldn't go up the stairs. So
Yep.
that was hard. And it gave me more appreciation for people who have wheelchairs, people who have to use walkers, because everybody cannot walk stairs as easily as the next person. So I'm going to segue into my next question, which is, can you share your journey where it led you become an advocate in your space, with you being disabled, and also what made you want to be the singing speaker?
So for me, the journey of speaking started in the rooms of AA. I would watch speakers come in and tell their stories. Some people were inspiring and made me want to last one more day to make it through today. And other speakers were telling what we call drunkalogues. They were celebrating all of the stupid things that they used to do, how they would get drunk and end up in another city, or ending up with this partner or that partner and not remembering how they got into said bed. Those people had not properly healed yet. They didn't know it, but they were still a ways from being safe in their journey. I decided that I wanted to be a good speaker. And in my alcoholic state, still near the beginning of my journey, I was going to save everyone with my story. I saved a few, but I don't save everyone. But what that did is it led me to the doors of Toastmasters International, which is a nonprofit group where you can learn leaders speaking and leadership skills. They have an online education platform. There are in-person clubs, online clubs, etc. And it helped me hone and develop my skills as a speaker because I've been teaching and speaking for years. That's not a problem. Like everything that I've done, whether that was lifeguarding, teaching first aid to CPR, scuba diving. I taught other women how to drive 18-wheelers when I was doing that job. I was an over-the-road instructor. I love helping others reach their goals. And so by becoming and taking this Toastmasters program, I've been in it for 8 years now. I have developed the skills to be a confident speaker. In fact, it helped me hone my stories, and it launched me into adding not only stories but songs. So, for example, I will often start a speech with 12 years ago, I got the most wicked birthday gift ever. A wicked virus. And it put me in this wheelchair. And don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? And I have yet to recover. And I move on with my story from there. By combining the songs into my speeches, I can create a sense of oh, or I can create levity. Like if I sing, always look on the bright side of life, somebody will always whistle, everybody will always laugh, and it helps to lift the mood, release the pressure of some of those heavier conversations. So I have a lot of fun on stage.
And I can tell because I was in the back smiling while you were singing, and I can understand why you did that. And I want to ask, for anybody who's wondering, what was the gift that changed your life forever?
The gift that changed my
You said it
life
was a
forever,
birthday gift, right?
the virus. I got a wicked gift, and that gift was a wicked virus. That virus morphed into this neuroimmune illness and
Oh,
put me in
did you
this
catch
wheel.
the virus while you was there?
Yeah, we are
Did
not
you catch
sure
the
what it
virus while you was
was.
in Mexico? Oh,
Yeah, they don't know what it was. It could have been Epstein-Barr, otherwise known as mono, but any viral load can create ME. For example, long COVID people are now being categorized as having myalgic encephalomyelitis because it is a post-viral neuroimmune illness. So, yeah, it it, it tends to
mm,
hit women more
I
often
hate
than
that
men.
you called it on your birthday.
Yeah, it tends to hit women more often than men. It can happen to people as young as 5 years of age. It is often accompanied by people who have loose joints, so similar to Ehlers-Danlos, but also people who have been through trauma, especially trauma in their early years. So, not there isn't an instant test. It isn't easy to cope with. Um, there are varying degrees. So, how my symptoms present and how somebody else's presents can be extremely different. But there are certain criteria that have to be met to get the ME diagnosis. But other people can also be diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, which is very similar, but it's more generic. It
Mm,
doesn't actually have a proper diagnosis category. It's just what they label people when they don't know what else is wrong with you. Um, whereas ME is more
mm,
it took over 2 years of testing to figure out what was actually wrong with me. Um, yeah, I don't wish this on anybody.
mm.
There are more people with ME than there are people with MS in the world. So, yeah. My goal is actually
Wow,
to raise $50,000.
that's very hard to hear.
Yeah, yeah. It's sad, um, and currently funding is very very hard to get, as we know. So yeah, there's a lot going on, but I'm working hard at raising $50,000 for ME research. That's one of the many things on my plate that I juggle around. So yeah.
Wow. Oh, my heart goes out to you because I can't imagine just living life and then that happens, which I had a glimpse of it because I told you I couldn't walk, and that was very difficult, and I will never forget it. So it's crazy how, for me personally, God has given me challenges in life and prepared me
Mhm.
for this podcast to interview people like you, because I
Yeah.
totally forgot about that until you started to talk. Pain, because I have sciatica, and
Mm.
sometimes my leg may give out. So I can't imagine your pain because you're going through it every day. But I commend you for being resilient and telling your story and impacting so many lives who don't understand disability awareness. So, with that, I want to go to my next question. What does celebrating uniqueness mean to you, and how has it shaped your life?
Celebrating uniqueness is really important. We all have God-given gifts, and being ADHD and dyslexic, I don't know if the dyslexia has anything to do with it, but I am creative as all get out. I have made jewelry. I have created songs. I'm writing a book. I have the ability to think outside of the box. Do not ask me to do details. I am not detail oriented, but I have the ability to, when a problem is presented, that I will just open my mind, take everything and throw it on the wall. And then I let the neurotypical sort of go through that mess and go, well, we can use this idea and create something beautiful. In June of last year, I had found out about Disability Pride Month, as in proud to be disabled. And I went online and I was searching for any activities where I could speak, where I could volunteer, where I could just meet other people that looked like me, that were in wheelchairs or that had other disabilities. And I found nothing, not a single activity. Now, in the US, they have been doing this since 1998, if I'm not mistaken, but Canada only brought it into law in 2023. So it's still new. And I was mad. I was disappointed. And I didn't know it at the time, but I had already made the decision to become the change that I wanted to see in the world. I, was putting out feelers, and I was reaching out and doing step 2 in what I talk about, which is becoming willing to fearlessly fail. And I reached out to a friend who knew how to do fundraising for like grants and things like that. And unbeknownst to me, he contacted an agency, and they reached out to me at the beginning of September and said, hey, do you want to put on a show in December? We have a location, we have funding, it's all yours. You just have to do everything yourself. And after I picked my jaw up off the ground, I went, yes. And out of that one sort of idea, small concept, I put together an entire show. I had a blind comic, a deaf poet, a disabled dancer. I had some musicians with mental health issues, and then I was singing in a trio called the Disability Pride Choir. And we put on this amazing show that made a difference. We did it around the time of the UN's uh, day of persons of disability, or I forget the exact name, but nonetheless, we made a difference, and that was by sheer willingness to be willing to fail, but also to just go, all right, we have an opportunity, and just being allowed to be creative in any way that worked for my brain. And that was absolutely fabulous.
I love the quote that you, or your pillar number two. You said pillar number two, that you
Yeah.
said you have to be willing to fail. That's the part that a lot of people are afraid of. People are afraid to fail because why are you afraid? You're afraid of what the next person going to say? Are you afraid if you close this business today that it's not going to work? Are you afraid to go in public because because you're autistic, have amazing disability that people do not want to understand?
Yeah.
I really did like your pillar number two because it resonated with me, because we have to be willing to fail, and that can be in any aspect of our life.
Yeah. The
So I
beauty
really did
of
love that. So my question, because of what you,
yeah, I
no,
just
no,
want
go ahead. I'm
the
listening. You said the beauty.
yeah, the beauty of being willing to fearlessly fail is the fact that even we never aim to fail, like we never do. But by being willing to fearlessly fail, you never know what connections you're going to make with other people. I mean, just like this, like today, like who knew, like at the beginning of today, that I was going to meet you, that I was going to have this opportunity. Um, you never know what skill you're going to learn as you're building towards something new. Each of those things becomes the platform, the stepping stones that is going to lead you to your success, that is going to lead you to your dream. So no matter how something turns out, you're not losing. You have not lost. Financially, maybe, emotionally, you might feel a little bit less, but only if you don't see the beauty in that failure. So, one of the things that I'm always doing myself is doing things that scare the bejeebers out of me. Whether that, I mean, last year I went scuba diving for the first time in over 10 years. It took several people to help me enter the water, to help me gear up. It was a dive site I'd not been to before, so I followed a dive master who was a friend in a time where I used to guide him. I helped teach him to become a dive master. There's just so many opportunities. Being willing to join Toastmasters, being willing to walk through the doors of AA, being willing to write a book with money I don't have to spend. When you are willing to take those chances, that leads to the third pillar, which is finding your folks. Because if you are willing to live in a constant state of gratitude, you're going to attract people of similar vibes, energy, whatever you want to say, values. By being willing to fearlessly fail, you're going to meet a whole bunch of people. And you are going to, the third pillar is find your folks. Because when we come together, we all rise, right? And we sometimes have to turn away people that would otherwise suck the energy out of us, that I call energy vampires, or that will exhaust us. But find those folks that will love you as you are. I welcome everybody into my life that are positive, that have a desire to move forward. I just love people. And by combining those sort of three pillars, it's amazing what can be accomplished even from your bed.
I love that you are so resilient and you're doing most of your work from your bed. I hope that gives the Auesome Tribe just hope. And of course, on this podcast, we already have awareness, but
Mm-hmm.
acceptance of your story, because so many people cannot take a walk in your shoes and they don't understand it because they don't want to understand it. But you being willing to always be ready for an opportunity to tell your story, to shape the world that we live in, is amazing. So now we're about to get into some fun stuff. So if you are a new listener, every episode I do a segment called Auesomely Fun, Keep It Real segment. And within this segment, you guys, I do a lot of things. So I'm going to start off with one I do all the time. This one is called Truth or Trend. I'm going to name a popular phrase, and she's going to tell me if it's a truth or a trend. So I'm going to say something crazy. Now, you just got to tell me if it's a truth or trend. Are all this, is it no such thing as invisible disability?
I would
There's
say
no such thing.
that's a trend because that's not a truth. If I wasn't in a wheelchair, you would not know that I am sick. There are many people that go into the world and they don't want to go to work and they and they'll pretend to be sick. I go into the world and I pretend to be well because I don't want to make non-ill people, normal people, uncomfortable. So it is not a truth. It is sadly a trend, and one that I hope that we can break with time.
I hope that we can break with time with trying us neurodiverse people, individuals, autistic individuals, trying to make, I don't use the word normal, so neurotypical people comfortable. It's
Mm-hmm.
time that we make them uncomfortable and understand disabilities, make them understand autism, make them understand so many different things besides their typical life. I know you feel like you're blessed because you may have a child that is neurotypical, but take a walk in our shoes.
Mm.
Like, it's not easy. So I'm the opposite. I'm not trying to make them comfortable. I want you to be uncomfortable to the point you ask me questions, and then we can have a real conversation. I'm not saying ask me questions and then be combative. I'm talking about having a conversation and both of us being willing to listen. Because I'm not neurotypical, I'm atypical. So I want to be able to understand your point of view. And then we can go from there. I remember a couple weeks ago, a guy who liked me, I said, I may be autistic. I've been trying to like figure it out for the last 2 years. And I finally realized I am. He said, no, you're not. You don't look like it. And I looked at him and I was like, that's no such thing. And then one day he said, everybody in the world is autistic. And I looked at him, I said, are you saying artistic or autistic? And because he knew I was not gonna budge, he said artistic, because he said I can tell this, he said I can tell this about to be a real conversation. I said it is, because we're about to have some really key facts going here. So I said all that to say, no, make them uncomfortable. Make them uncomfortable. And it must be the fun segment, but make them uncomfortable. So yeah, I'm gonna get into a question that I haven't asked no guests. I got one more question for her, but I'm gonna get into a question I haven't asked nobody, y'all. I have to find it. But before I find it, I'm gonna ask you to fill in the blank. If you had a billboard, what would it say? If you had a life message, what would it be?
On one of my worst days, lying in bed, I created a life saying for myself, which is choose to live joyously within the tempest of adversity. I'll say that one more time. Choose to live joyously within the tempest of adversity that we call life.
I love your personal mantra. I feel like in life, we all should have a personal mantra. So my personal mantra is I'm a mom, on a mission trying to normalize the conversation around autism. And that has been my personal mantra since 2020 when I first wrote my first book. So, this is a question I have never asked any guest during the fun segment. And this question is, describe yourself using a song. What is one song that perfectly describes you and why? Ready?
I don't know if I'll get all the words right, and I won't do this whole song, but when you're broken down and tired of living your life on a merry-go-round, and you can't find the fighter, but I see it in you, so we're gonna walk it out and move mountains, and we're gonna walk it out and move mountains, and I'll rise up high like the day, and I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid, I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up high like the waves, and I'll rise up in spite of the ache. I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for me, and for your entire audience, I will rise up and I will fight for making neuro-spiciness normal, making disability normal. Disability is the only minority that anybody can join at any time in their life. What we do now today can change the world for you, for your child, or for your grandchild. With over 1 billion people identifying as having some form of disability, we need to be loving, we need to be inclusive, and we need to be strong together. So let's rise up.
You have a beautiful, angelic voice. I did not expect that song. Um, I know that whole song. It was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful song to describe you, to describe when you rise up and you get up out that wheelchair. Um, I'm very sensitive person. I really want to cry, but it was a perfect song. So before we wrap up this podcast, I want to ask you two things. One of them is if you can change one thing about the way society views disability and neurodivergent, like that neuro-spicy, that's what you said, neuro-spicy and disability, what would it be?
Well, I would change the word disability. Um, we're differently abled. I don't think there is such a thing as normal. I think we all feel very different. Some are visible, some are invisible. And do better. We have to teach our children that if somebody looks different, sounds different, acts different, to be loving, to be forgiving, to be patient. Don't finish people's say, oh, I can do that for you without asking if you need to change So it's hard to pick just one, but start with love. Start with love.
Whew. Okay. Hard to pick one. Just start with love. I hope to guess my Auesome Tribe. I would love for you to share affirmation that our listeners and our audience can take away from today's conversation. Yes.
Something to embrace their uniqueness. You're perfect just the way you are. I'm perfect. You're perfect. Enough said. You don't need to change for anybody else. When you go out into the world, be your authentic self. Be willing to love yourself as you are. That's hard. That took me years to learn how to do. But when you get there, it's worth it. But I remember as a child, when I was going through abuse, when I was going through watching my mom die of cancer, living with learning disabilities undiagnosed, people kept telling me, oh, there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's light at the end of the tunnel. And I never could see the light. And I would tell them to just go away in less polite terms. What they didn't tell me is there is light at the end of your tunnel. But honey, there is going to be some twists and turns that you have to navigate first. And that's the tough part. But you're going to get there. You'll make it through this. You got this. Because you are enough just the way you are.
So the affirmation for today's episode is, say it with me, I am enough.
I am enough.
I am enough the way I am. So say I'm enough and it's okay. What do you say? I'm enough and it's okay to be myself, or I'm enough to be myself. Which one
I
is
am
it?
enough just the way I am. So, yeah, you're
I'm enough
beautiful.
just the way I am. That's the affirmation. Okay. Well, CJ, I appreciate you. I appreciate your affirmation. I believe that every episode that I create should end with affirmation, because I want them, like I said, my listeners, the Auesome Tribe, I want them to take a walk in your shoes for these 40 minutes and be like, wow, I am enough just the way I am. Because that statement can go for any community. It doesn't matter what community they're part of. It can fit them. So thank you for taking time to be my guest. And thank you for being my guest last minute, because you are a lifesaver. I'm very big on my deadlines. So you helped me today. So with that being stated, my Auesome Tribe, this is the end. And I know you guys probably already excited for the outro. But before we get to the outro song, we have to learn where we can find CJ. We need all her information for you guys can follow her. And also, if you probably want to invest into what she's got going on, I need you guys to, you guys always say, embrace my guests and show them some love. So CJ.
You can find me at CJ Jansen, JANZEN.com. You can find me on all of the socials. I'm there. I just ask ChatGPT. You'll find me.
Not ask ChatGPT to find you. I'm over her, y'all. But you guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It was a treat. And as always, I know you guys are excited for the outro, but I need you guys to like, comment, follow Auesomely You Podcast on all platforms. If you want to be featured in Auesomely You Magazine, please email us at auesomelyyoumagazine@gmail.com. And if you also want to follow me on social medias, I am Crystal Jordan. And with that being stated, we're done. Bye, you guys.
Goodbye.
We rise, we shine, bowing voices, breaking the lines. This ain't just a podcast, this is a move. Celebrating every story, making room. For the ones who speak in ways they don't understand, for the hearts that love big, for the ones who take a stand, for the ones who see the world in a different way. We amplify your voice, let the world hear what you say. Every challenge, every win, every step you take, you are seen, you are loved, this is your space. No more silence, no more fear, awesomely you, we're standing here. We are the voices, we are